Okay. 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 We're going to get started now. You can have your chats after the service. Shh. Thank you. Okay. Good morning. It's always such a pleasure to gather together in this wonderful space to share another Sunday morning with you. Whether you're here in the sanctuary, watching us on Facebook, live at home, sitting out on our pavilion, or if you found another time to watch the recorded service on Facebook or YouTube. All of you, I'd like to extend a warm welcome. I'm Patty Bryan, your worship associate today. Our minister, Tony Fisher, is still on sabbatical. Today, we are welcoming Rabbi Howard Herman as our guest speaker. Rabbi Herman is currently serving as the rabbi of Naples Jewish congregation and has been their spiritual leader there for the past 5 years. Prior to his moving to Florida in 2016, Rabbi Herman was the rabbi of the congregation Emek Shalom, a synagogue in Simsbury, Connecticut, for 36 years. While in Connecticut, Rabbi Herman also served as the Jewish chaplain at 2 United States veterans hospitals in Newington and West Haven, Connecticut. He also served as adjunct professor of philosophy at Tungus Community College in Farmington, Connecticut, and at Capital Community College in Hartford, Connecticut. Rabbi Herman has served as president of the Hartford Board of Rabbis and as president of the Farmington Valley Interfaith Clergy Council. He's an avid New York Yankees baseball fan and loves to fly fish in both streams and the Gulf of Mexico. Rabbi Herman and his wife Mona live in Venice, Florida. They have 3 children, 6 grandchildren, and 2 labradoodles. I'd like to thank everybody who's making this service happen. Our guest pianist, Fernando Lopez Flores. Steve Espinoza, who is our song leader today. Dan Goodsit and John Forsyth in the AV room. Our greeters and our ushers. And of course, our wonderful kitchen crew. Ours is a welcoming community, freely seeking spiritual and intellectual growth. We strive to create a larger community of peace, justice, and love. And we strive to live our values out in the world. If you are new to our congregation, our hope is to make you feel welcome and help you find ways to connect. If you found us online, please email our administrator at office@uunaples.org. And that way we can include you in our news emails that will keep you informed of all of the events that are happening here. There are so many ways to connect. Those of you who are here in person, all of you, please join us after the service out on the pavilion for coffee and conversation. And now, let's sit back, take a nice deep breath, and settle ourselves into the time of worship with the morning's prelude.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your congregation this morning. Let us begin by remembering that the spiritual always points toward the unity of things, not their division. Religion tries to help us work from a higher perspective. To recite our prayers is to see ourselves as an integral part of all that is, and not see ourselves as the measure of all things. The egotistical, self-centered part of our mind, the evil inclination, so to speak, always leads us to experience our separateness from the natural world. When we see ourselves as a part of creation, born primarily to tend the garden and nurture it, then we will be acting out of our higher selves. The declaration of belief in God is in part a call to reintegrate ourselves into the fabric of the natural world and to do our part to preserve the universe out of which we come. And a final word from Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav. He teaches us that the world was created only for the sake of choice and the choosing one. We, as masters of choice, should say, the whole world has been created for my sake. Therefore, I shall take care at every time and in every place to redeem the world and fill its want. Amen.
Our chalice reading is Grace Meets Us Where We Are. There's nothing you need to bring with you to be welcome here. No right beliefs or proof of citizenship, no eternal optimism or clarity of conviction, no boundless courage or endless expertise. You do not need to know what brought you here or how you will solve that problem that you keep turning over and over and over and over in your mind. Your bills do not need to be paid, and your checkbook might be a mess. Your children may have been up half the night. Your hearing aids may not be working. Your knees may be creaking. You do not need to be already perfect or even halfway to belong in this circle where grace meets us, just where we are, but doesn't leave us where it found us. As love resides in each of us, yet is somehow more than all, where life still pulses and rages and heals and transforms, creating us and this day anew once again. Come, let us worship together. And now, please join me in reading A Spark of Hope by Melanie Davis. The words will be on the screen, and they are already. If ever there were time for a candle in the darkness, this would be it. Using a spark of hope, kindle the flame of love, ignite the flame of darkness, and feed the flame of justice. And John will light our chalice here. And we are starting with the opening hymn, Gather the Spirit. It's number 347 in your gray hymnals, and the words are on the screen.
And please rise in body or spirit, and we all know this song. It's one of our favorites. Gather the Spirit, harvest the power, our separate fires will kindle one flame, witness the mystery of each hour, our trials in this light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the spirit of heart and mind, seeds for the sowing are laid in store, nurtured in love and conscience refined, with body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit growing in all, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun, winter to spring and summer to fall, the chorus of life resounding. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again.
And this piece is The Bright Thread of Hope by Gretchen Haley. There is too much beauty in this world to give up on it. Not yet. And yet it is always too soon to surrender to cynicism. Bring your doubt, your skepticism, your downright confusion, even your bitterness. But in the midst of all of these, right in the center, wrap your tender fingers around that still bright thread of hope. Feel in your heart that still steady hunger for something more. The vision we glimpse every day in the rising sun, the light that spreads across the face of the one we love, the look of knowing all there is to know and still loving life, loving us just as it is, just as we are. For this hour, we come to celebrate, to praise, to give thanks, to refuse to give up, to steady ourselves, keepers of hope, brave builders of this still possible world. Come, Let's continue to worship together. Now, let's remain seated as we sing our centering hymn, Spirit of Life, number 123 in our hymnals, and the words are on the screen.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Fuente de amor, ven hacia mí. Y al corazón llega tu compasión. Sopla al volar, sube en la mar, hasta moldear la justicia de la vida. Arraigame, libérame, fuente de amor, ven a mí, ven a mí.
We set aside this time in our service to focus our attention on those in our lives who may be celebrating something which gives us joy today, and those who are dealing with a death, an illness, or other life circumstance which give us concern or sorrow today. By asking you to name or reflect quietly on these people, in our presence, this caring community offers its support to enhance the joys and lessen the sorrows. David Dobler is in our thoughts today. He has had surgical repair of a splintered bone in his arm, and he's now back at rehab in the ProMedica Skilled Nursing Center on Rattlesnake Hammock. And you may continue to find information on sending cards in our Caring Corner email notices. And I have one announcement, which I have, of course, lost. No. My announcement is that there's a prospective member orientation today, July 31st, saying that it will be right after this meeting, I think. Correct me, whoever knows. That's correct. Thank you. For those who would like to find a way to connect and learn more about our congregation, and for those who may be ready to join, we have a series of orientations throughout the year, including this one right after the service. If you want to arrange for another one, reply to the email or email them, or call 239-455-6553. I'll imagine you'll all memorize that. Anyway, it will be in the emails. Okay, now for our joys and sorrows. First, our joys. Take a moment to reflect quietly, or as I extend my arm to your area of the room, speak the name or names of those you hold in your hearts with joy. If you're not here with us today, still speak aloud the names of those you hold in your heart. I had to look that up, and I think that's the pronunciation. Now is the time to call on the memories of the ancestors who thought they could not walk another step toward freedom, and yet they did. It is that time and that place to call on the memories of the ancestors who, when the darkness of their lives threatened to take away hope and light, reached a little deeper and prayed yet another little prayer. It is that time and place to remember those who came through the long night to witness another sunrise. It is that time and place to remember the oceans of tears shed to deliver us to this time, to remember the bent knees and bowed backs, to remember the fervent voices asking, begging, beseeching for loved ones sold off. Time to remember their laughter and joy, though they had far less, and little reason for optimism, yet they stayed on the path toward a better day. Time to hold to the steadfast hands and hearts and prayers of the ancestors that have brought us this far. Time to make them proud and show them and ourselves what we are made of. Time to show them that their prayers and sacrifices and lives were not in vain. And they did not go unnoticed. Did you not know that this day would come? Did you not know that we would have to change places? Did you not know that just as our ancestors were delivered, that you also would be delivered? Have you not seen the greatness and the power of creative energy in the universe that moves and has its being through human agency? Have you not seen it in your neighbors' faces, in the homeless, in the battered woman, the trafficked child, the undocumented worker, the dispossessed? It is that time and that place to know that it's our turn, that we must leave a legacy for our children and all the children. It is that time and that place. We are the ones we've been waiting for. For that, let us be eternally grateful. Let us contemplate these words during a shared silence. This piece is called Earth by Mark L. Bellatini. This is our earth. It falls through heaven like a pearl in a glass of plum wine. There are no other earths that I know of. There are no other skies that we've mapped. This is our earth. The oneness who gave birth to it remains nameless. There was no midwife then to bring us word of the birth cry. We only rejoice that it is. This is our earth. Ice caps its head. Glaciers clasp its feet. Warm wind, like the breath of a lover, breathes around its breast. Mountains thrust up into the clouds, bringing joy. Storms blow across its shores, bringing fear. Silvery fish capture sunlight and bring it down into the deep, as on shore, valleys spread with ripening fruit. Cities teem with poor and disenfranchised in the shadow of golden towers. Children live and also die. Highways throb. Monks sit in silence. Mothers work. Crickets chirp. Teachers plan. Engineers design. Fathers write letters. People marry with and without the blessings of law. People cry. They laugh and brood and worry and wait. This is our earth. There are no other earths. Before its wonder, philosophers fall silent. Before its mystery, poets admit that their words are shadow, not light. And all the great names religious teachers have left to us, Ishtar, Shekinah, Terra Mater, Suchness, Wakantanka, Gaia, suddenly refuse to announce themselves. And so we too fall silent, entering a time where words end and reality begins.
I'm not certain about how intimately familiar you are with planes and aviation, but pilots acknowledge to us that there's a specific point in a flight plan when you simply can't turn back. When you are at a location along the flight path where the fuel that remains in the tank of the plane just isn't sufficient enough to take you back to your origin. At the moment that you've flown to that point in time and space, your options narrow considerably. Now, were something to go wrong, you could probably find a safe runway to land. nearby where you might be. And if things go right, then you press on to your destination. But one factual thing is certain. The place where you began is now unreachable. At that moment, you cannot go back to where you started. You've now arrived at the place called the point of no return. I call it the illusion of memory. The events that have unfolded over the last several months, including the continuing global pandemic, the overturning of Roe v. Wade, gerrymandering districts all over the country, the revelations of the Select House Subcommittee on the insurrection of January 6th, the Don't Say Gay bill here in Florida, have brought us on our journey to our own collective point of no return. For many, life after COVID is different than life before. Whether it's pushing back on having to make hour-long commutes while missing precious family time, or being more scrupulous in our in-person contacts, the difference in work and leisure could take on a permanency that we are now only beginning to realize. For others, the hope of a more radically just country that reckons with all of its systems, symbols, language, perhaps moves us into the more perfect union that we seek. Out the promised land. And as the scouts returned to the camp, they reported that the very land they dreamed of was indeed flowing with milk and honey. The land, however, was also very dangerous, filled with warring nations and even giants, they said. The Israelites became frightened. Even Moses and Aaron, the leaders of the nation, fell on their faces in despair. Better to go back to Egypt, they thought, than to press forward. So many of us, like the Israelites, are afraid of the future. The point of no return is a challenging place. It's when we have to make really tough decisions about who we are, and more importantly, who we want to be. Many of us are stuck in our jobs. We're stuck in a life we just don't want to live. But we're afraid of reaching out toward the uncertainty of the future that we're not willing to go past the point of no return. These events, as they have unfolded, have inspired thousands to both stay home because of this virus and to take to the streets to demand justice. But the point of no return calls forth something more than enthusiasm, more than wearing a mask, more than making a sign or shouting a cheer. The point of no return calls forth more than inspiration. It demands our transformation. For the Israelites, when the scouts returned, they were ready to give up. All that is except for 2 of the 12 scouts, Joshua and Caleb. Joshua rose to address the trembling public and said, "Have no fear. Our enemies are our quarry. God is with us. Don't fear." And Caleb looked out upon the nation and boomed, "Let us by all means go up and possess it, for we shall overcome." Against the tide, these 2 men saw that they could not go back to Egypt. They could not go back to slavery. They could not go back to the past. There is a midrash that explains that at first Caleb nodded his head in agreement with the other spies. The land is good. The way there is fraught with danger. But then something inside of him, we're told in the midrash, changed. The midrash explains that in his chest, his heart started speaking the truth, and Caleb stopped listening to the voices outside and began to listen to the voice inside. His godly conscience that said to him, "You can't go back." He rose, as the Bible goes on to say, was infused at this moment with a different spirit and proclaimed to his people, "We shall overcome." If the exodus from Egypt freed Caleb from his shackles, it was seeing the uncertain future and believing that life could really be different that broke the chains that circled his heart. At that very moment, he arrived at the point of no return. We all, I think, have arrived at that moment. While the future remains uncertain, with almost zero predictability, we can't return to the Faustian bargain from which we began. No longer can we trade the prosperity of the few for the paucity of the many. No longer can we be a nation born for the cause of liberty while enshrining slavery. No longer can we abide the bitter waters of bigotry with hands over our hearts, proclaiming liberty and justice for all. No longer can we turn our heads from the truth that threatens to blind us. If we make the decision to feel more than simple enthusiasm and hear the call to do the actual hard work of change, then we can move from inspiration to transformation. We can live with a different spirit. We can push through this moment into the promised land that has been the dream of so many. We need to move forward. We cannot go back. We have arrived at that point of no return. Amen.
Wow. As we reflect on this morning's powerful message, we also take time to show our gratitude for all that UUCGN accomplishes because of the generosity of time, talent, and treasure given by its members and friends. If you're watching service online, please consider sending a contribution. Your continued financial support of our beloved community keeps us strong and vibrant and helps in keeping our services broadcast to those who cannot be with us right here in person. The information that you need to donate is on the screen. This morning's offering will be gratefully received. Okay. Now, a few announcements. Once again, a reminder that today, after the service, is the prospective member orientation. In addition, circle dinners are happening throughout the summer. They're organized dinners with 6, 8, or 10 friendly UUs in their home. Circle dinner hosts will prepare a main course and ask you to bring some of the trimmings. If you'd like to participate, email Sydney DeGraw. Her email is in your news email this week. The next dinner will be August 19th. Also, everyone is invited to join us after the service out on the patio for coffee and conversation. If you're new to us, please look for the visitors' welcome table that's just out there. Visitors are encouraged to visit the table and ask any questions that they might have from the membership committee member, and also get to know other visitors to UUCGN. We look forward to meeting you. To find out more about these and many, many more opportunities for fellowship and learning, check out our weekly news email. And if you would like to get on our email list, contact office@uunaples.edu. And now, please stand as you're able for our closing song, one of my total favorites, Blue Boat Home. It's number 1064 in our teal hymnals, and the words are on the screen.
Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and my moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite seas before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never port or harp have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
For our final benediction. May God bless you and may God keep you, not only at this moment in time, but each and every day and year throughout your lives. Amen. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha, may God's countenance shine down upon you. May God be gracious and may God be kind unto you now and always. Amen. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's face smile down upon you. May God grant you an abundance of all of life's blessings of life, of health, of sensitivity, caring, feeling, love. And above all, may God grant you shalom shalem, the completeness, the uniqueness, the warmth of God's holy peace. And we say together, Amen.